Good morning, Neo fam. This is Laser here, back again for another weekend analysis. It is 8:30 a.m. and I promise to make this video shorter than my last video. If you missed my last video, definitely check out my video. We make one of these videos once per week, especially for those of you that are new here. We try and drop our analysis and share our opinion as to where NIO is going, and we've been trying to track along and to follow along where NIO is going and predict the price action. My goal here is actually, as you guys walk out of these videos, is that you learn a little bit of something and you can share and actually understand where my opinion is. And if you're making a big financial decision, please do your own due diligence and your own research. I'm just a guy who loves the stock, and I'm just sharing my opinion, which could be wrong. It's been wrong in the past before, but I'm here to kind of make sense of the price action. Once you start making price sense of the price action, you get a little bit of conviction in that trade. You start understanding the ups and downs and not start doubting things. And I mean, of course, conviction comes in two folds. If you believe in the company, believe in the fundamentals, you should already have the conviction. But sometimes there's peace of mind just understanding the price and actually seeing if you can actually make some sense of it, actually. And that's what we try and do here today. We try and keep it nice and simple. My last video ended up going over chart mechanics, so it's a really longer video that I would recommend that you guys take a look at. I'm going to try and dive in as to where I actually see the price going into next week, actually, here. And I won't spend too much time going as much into chart mechanics, and I think that's how we're going to keep our video nice and short and sweet here. This is the 9th week. We're going to review this again here, actually, because I believe it's important. This is the 9th 2-week candle here, and if you don't already know, and definitely check out my Twitter account, I've posted cycles. 45% of all reversals on NIO have taken place on the 9th 2-week candle here. So take a look right over here. You have the 9th bar here that's taking place, and that's on the 100. So we're on the 9th bar, and that closes on February 3rd. Now, if the reversal were to take place here, the reason I'm actually illustrating that is the candle opened up at 435. So we're currently 429. By next week, you want to see that above, at minimum, to hold true above 435. Now, I think it's going to go way higher than that, but I just wanted to illustrate that we're on that 9th bar for the 2-week candle where 45% of all the reversals have taken place. I won't review that because that's just going to make the video way longer. Definitely check out my old videos, check out my old tweets. Actually, my last video actually has the link to the tweet with the cycles, so it'll be in the description. And what I'll do actually in this video as well, I'll post a tweet to the cycles, so it's something for you to check out. Now let's dive in. You want to know where I see the price going? There's a couple different ways you can see where I see the price going, but I'm going to be as conservative as I can just to kind of keep the price targets as low as it can. We'll have two ways that we can see this, and this is using our parallel channel. We're going to come up here. This is price target number one. Okay, and that we will stat that because there's always the option of static going above that, so we'll do that. So I've had some people ask me right before the weekend, where do we go from here? Well, once the reversal is confirmed and we're ready to go, we're coming to retest this. So this is our conservative price target here, 780. It's basically like a double top, a little bit higher than the previous high, which I think was 778. That takes us to the right of the top of the channel. That would essentially be a double top right on the top of that channel here. And that's where I see the price going once this is all ready to go. And no, I don't see the price going to $1. No, I don't see the price going to like $3, like all the bears are constantly saying. And for those of you that have been watching the weekly numbers, which I guess we're going to get some new weekly numbers coming up next week, they haven't been like anything to brag about. They've been the bears have been crying, saying like this is awful. The first 2 weeks have been terrible. And I keep saying that the fundamentals, as well as the actual fundamentals, they're always so perfectly aligned with the actual price action on purpose. It's done that way to actually make it seem like they're synced, but they're not. I truly believe that the price is it does its own thing. So let's dive in. So, I'm going to show you a couple different things. Number one, right? We have this trend line being busted out. That's one. Number two, and I got into it with somebody on Twitter saying like, it's not breaking out. Like, what are you talking about? He had his regular trading hours turned on, and if you turn regular trading hours turned on, I don't know how he had it. He had it like weird. Even on regular trading hours, it to me it also it's broken out on regular trading hours. Oh, I think he was doing this. He was saying it's not broken out. I had somebody say like it's not broken out right over here. He says, hey, this is not a breakout. But if you turn extended trading hours on, you go into the hourly. Wow, in fact, we do have that breakout. So there we have it. This to me was the ingredient actually. Okay, so we've got a big breakout number one that took place. We had a second breakout out of the second trend line that took place. We had a failed pullback right over here. And this was the first pullback after getting its breakout out of the second trend line. This right here, notice. And now we had a breakout again. What does it do after giving us another breakout? It gives you a pullback, but this time it was successful. So we have a successful pullback. Now, it may not look as clear here, but let's actually make this nice and tidy and neat so you can see it as clear as daylight. So we're going to use our magnet right over here. And we are going to go do something like that. And as you can see, you got 1, 2, and 3 all above that trend line here. And oftentimes when you're getting like a pretty big breakout like this, what happens to the price? And I hate these arrows. I got to delete them. It's making me lost. Oops. This. Oftentimes what happens to the price after you get a breakout, you see the price dance and consolidate. It just takes time. It needs time to like test it. Like because it's a big breakout, it's testing it. It's making sure that this is a legit, it's not a fake out like it was over here, and you're getting the price coiling. I was talking about this. This price has been nothing but coiling. And I even said like if you're going to be getting like some shares, this is the level where you want to get it. Like it's broken 2 major levels. The 2 major levels being this being number 1 and this being number 2. It's broken both of these levels, and now it's coiling, getting ready to just make that big move up. And I think we've just started. We've just started. And how do I know we just started? Because this entire move right here was our pullback. This whole move was our pullback. This move right here was the pullback. But notice it failed. That was a failed pullback. So we had to reset. Okay, when you fail a pullback, you reset with another breakout and another pullback. And this is successful. This is beautiful. This is beautiful price action above the trend line. And how do we know like when this is over? When is this pullback over? Well, you draw this nice, you have that, this is the high. And we talked about this last week. I think it ended right around here. And I said, well, I don't know if it'll go that high. It might even push it higher, which is what it did. Gave us a dip and it gave you a pivot. This is a pivot point right here. The reason I call that a pivot, geez, this is terrible, this green. Sorry. This right here is your pivot. It also just so happened to be, it ended up coming up to the golden pocket, retrace actually there. And I mean, you can kind of like even go there, rejected that golden pocket. And so you're able to draw now a trend line because you need 2 points to draw a trend line. And that's why we call that the pivot. It allows us to draw a trend line. So this phase is our pullback. And this phase tells us like, hey, your pullback's finished. It's actually broke to the upside. Now, if the pullback was not done, if it was not done, we would not have seen that move. It would have actually kind of, it would have tumbled down here a little bit more longer. We would have saw it come down to 4. Maybe it would have danced longer, and it could have done this. It could have just continued to coil until it did this. Now, as we saw it, not just with NIO, we saw Baidu and Baba also green and China green and narrative slipping. This right here is beautiful. Now, I had one guy actually message me and saying, hey, is it time to buy? Now, again, I can't give you financial advice as when to buy. I can just tell you what I think would be a good time to consider it. And the time to actually look at like buying would have been right in these zones when you got like that first pullback and you got a second, like where it was coiling in here. That's where you want to get long. So where are we going, you guys? I think it's going to 7. I truly think it's getting ready to go. It's going to take a bit of time, but not that much time because I think we're running pretty darn close to the cycles. I think our end target is in and around that 780. That's conservatively. That's my conservative number. And you want to see my more aggressive number? My more aggressive number is it does break above. Gives you the pullback because you got a breakout. This is a brand new breakout because this is resistance, okay? This parallel channel represents resistance and support. And if it breaks through resistance, it needs to give you a pullback, right? So there you go. You got a pullback. Usually what happens actually is you actually see when it breaks the middle of the channel, that's kind of counts as kind of like a breakout as well. So you usually get that pullback. This would be kind of more realistic. Maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm just giving you an idea. But the point here is if things are super duper bullish, you're getting right to the top of that second channel. Okay. Now I'm going to point out some things to you that actually support this thesis, that we might actually see this. Notice how we're on the bottom of the channel. We retest the bottom of the channel, but we're holding well above the channel. And the same amount of time has kind of relatively passed, but they have not been able to bring the prices low. And that is generally a sign that the stock is ready to break out of its channel. Now, there is confluence with this $12 price target as well on the bigger time frames. We'll do this for fun because I think it's fun. We did it in my last video, but we're going to do it again because it's fun. I think it's like something like that. You guys see the confluence now? I might have not. I might have like cheated a bit to kind of get that like more perfect, but and if I used a magnet, I probably would have done a better job. But that's where you get it. Well, it looks so much nicer when I did it like that. How's that look? That looks great. So again, we can't actually say like, oh, this is going to be a guaranteed thing. The only sure shot thing actually is, in my opinion, is we got to actually cross those bridges when we get there. Actually, so what I'm watching here is when this does actually like to when this does rally, I am going to watch it kind of run and rise to the top of this channel here. And that's it. I think like it's got the ingredients. Now, if I were to compare this to our last run as to where we are in the cycle, I got my coffee here and it's getting cold. I'm going to take a sip here. And I wanted to just show you that was your 1, and that was your 2. So similar. Here, hang on. Let me erase this so I don't confuse you guys. Notice how it broke here and then gave you that pullback? Broke here and a pullback. It was a much bigger move. So much more exaggerated. And now we've kind of broken out. We're kind of in this phase, in my opinion. I think we're waiting for the boom. That boom needs to come. Like this it didn't happen like immediately, you know. And for this one, because it was a much bigger like channel that I guess a much bigger trend line that it broke out of, and the pressure's been so bad, it's just coiling more. Coiling more means you might even see a bigger upside move. So we're waiting for this. Let me give you some confluence. When did this move come? This is where we're going to use my for confluence, we're going to use my velocity indicator. Take a peek here. That big move came also right when it crossed the 200-day moving average. Notice we have not yet crossed above the 200-day moving average. In general, the price bounces above and below that. You get even on short rallies, it will give you the move above. Even on short moves, you will get the move. We have not gotten the move above on the 200-day moving average. So we have not seen the big move. It's just been coiling. And there's some good things here, actually, here. So because the previous low on that 200-day moving average, I'm putting the arrow there so you guys can see it, is here. And it's potentially forming a higher high here. Now, there is one concern that I have on the velocity on the 24 hours that makes me think, could we see another pullback? Well, notice that there's this low right here. It made another low. So you can say this is a lower low. This is a lower high on the 24-hour time frame. I don't know how low it wants to go, but you need that higher low to actually before it explodes. Now, how did that look like on that prior run? I'm just calling this here. If they had one last shakeout, that's what the higher low looks like. Notice when it had a lower low on the velocity, it made a nice move. It still gave you that little dip where it's like it basically gapped down 30 cents from what? How high was it? It was 418 and they brought it down to 370. Like 30 cents. It's a possibility. It doesn't have to play the same way, to be honest. But that's my only reservation, that we haven't seen that higher low. And it might not. You could argue, we were diving in, that this was it. Where is it? We might have technically already gotten it. See here, little blip. And now it's already technically kind of giving you like a mini pullback. And you could argue and say like, okay, it's giving you one of these moves. Little short dip. Pretty much once it broke that previous high, it went crazy, which for us, that previous high is going to be at 447. That's what we're aiming for, I think, to get kind of like a similar kind of setup. We break above that, and you can see that's when things are going to explode. So that's it. That's where I see the price going. I see the price going all the way up into that potentially $7, $8 range. Oh, and I never showed you one last thing actually here. And we're going to do a quick look at the Hang Seng and the Dixie. We'll look at that. I know some people have been asking me like, hey, could you do some other stuff? So I'm trying to make sure my video doesn't end up being too long. So I'm trying to whip through it fast. Oh, man, my coffee got a little cold there. All right. That was the first one. Now, you can also argue. There's your second one. Now, it didn't actually break under because I didn't actually draw the lines properly because I've done this before. Where is my other line? Where's my other dot? Right here. You could argue this. This is actually more bullish because it gives us a price target of around 820. Like towards the end of March, which is where I think it's gonna take a whole month, in my opinion, to get there. You're gonna get up around $8. And if it does break above that, and again, you got to entertain the idea that if it does break above that, you can see 12. Like you can see some pretty big numbers actually. Now, 24 hours, yeah, that's a concern. We're gonna quickly, before we jump into Dixie here, we're gonna look at the 12. 12. So here we go. This 200-day moving average, notice it made a lower low relative to this one. And it's actually already forming that higher low right over here. And it's right above it. We're ready to go on the 12. On the 4 hours, I'm going to clear my drawings. I'm pointing at the yellow line here, guys. You can see we've made it lower. Kind of see this whole move came up. And now it's coming up and it's making, and it broke above, which is beautiful. And in fact, not only did it break on the chart, it broke on the velocity. Beautiful. Beautiful. Got a little, just to make a little bounce to make sure that it's legit. Because you always get those fake outs. I don't think it's gonna happen. I think they're ready to move China. And I think that's where it's gonna go. It's ready to just go. 2-hour time frame. It's literally the same as the 4 hours. Actually, I will point out something too. This is the only concern, is it made a lower low on the 2-hour time frame. So what could happen? Could see one more dip. I'm just trying to mentally prepare you. I'm not saying that I don't actually want it to dip. I want it to rip. Guys, like seriously, I'm a bull here. I want it to rip. But I'm saying you kind of want it to see it make that higher low on the 200-day moving average. It doesn't have to have that. It's not a guarantee, but it would make it like a better technical setup. And I did that. You can see how I drew it out on the 1 hour. It's the same thing. The 1 hour time frame and the velocity. These are weaker signals, but notice it made a lower low here. It broke under, but it broke above. So here's the beautiful thing on the 1 hour. Beautiful. That could be your higher high if it goes on Monday. That could just be your higher high right there, because the reason why is, look, it broke back above the 200-day moving average. First pullback off the 200-day moving average, which it's actually already doing. We could just explode on Monday. Like, if there's any week that you would put your eggs in the basket and bet on NIO, this is the week. So I'm super, super, super bullish. Just realize things just take time. So patience is going to work to your favor. So I think I answered all the questions and I addressed where I see NIO going here into next week, which is very, very, lot of good things actually here. You know, see it. You got that higher low forming. It's going to be good. It's going to be some good stuff coming. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but we're going to do a quick analysis on the Dixie, which is the US dollar, which has actually topped, and now it seems to be coming down here. I'm going to show you something here real quick here. Take a peek here. There you go. It broke. It gave you the retest. It decided to run up again here. Notice how it actually gave you not only a 1. That was your 1. But essentially, there is, you can argue that that was your 2, or I would even go like that. There's your 2. Very likely, you might even see it coming down to retest the 5. And if I were to stack this, where are we rejecting? It wasn't able to hold the mid channel. An obvious point of retest here is going to be around 105, which is going to be, I mean, that's great. Very bullish for all equities. It's a 2% drop. And when the Dixie drops, China starts to rise, US equities start to rise, Bitcoin starts to rise. Everybody loves when the US dollar drops. There's a couple other things that I wanted to look at. I added this. I used to always have it, but then it deleted. But this is the Chinese yen relative to the US dollar. And you'll notice it actually made a really significant break. And when this has made major breaks, just to see the correlation here, we're going to open that up next to the HSI, the Hang Seng, which is one thing that we'll also do here in this analysis. You'll notice before it had its massive move, you had a really big drop here. Actually, you had to see the rising USD CNH puts all this pressure. As it kind of pulls back, it's just more it's bullish. It's like inversely related. And you can also notice it broke the 200-day moving average. I'm not going to do a deep dive analysis. This is good. It's a good sign actually here to see that this is coming down lower, and that's also in in relation to the US dollar coming down as well. And of course, if you heard Trump said he wants to, immediately drop interest rates, that's very bullish for equities. Where are we? Hang Seng index. All right. I got to show you something here, guys. There's your 1. I can even go back here and say, there's your 2. That's your 1 and 2. There's your 1, 2. Technically, it pulled back, and successfully. Was it successfully? Let's see. It's debatable. Let's go down to the 2-hour and drill. Let's delete that one. We'll do this together. I didn't do that right. So it wasn't a successful pullback, so it's dancing here. But it's holding above, which is great. But notice how it actually broke down. It actually broke below. Broke back above. You want to see that clear pullback above the trend line before it's ready to go, right? Like it's coiling. This is a coiling move that you see often that happens. Now there's a lot of good things that I'm seeing on the velocity here. Now you can't quite see it on the Hang Seng, but you can see it on the Hang Seng futures. We've broken above the 200-day moving average. Now, notice the last time that happened. It was right over here. And this is my biggest concern with the Hang Seng index. One of them is that notice how before things started going, it still gave you a sizable pullback. 6-7% down to the downside. Now, for NIO's case, what was very interesting, NIO ran during that pullback. Will it be the same? Notice how NIO decided to run as Hang Seng gave it. So all of China went down while NIO went up. Now, part of that was their earnings report and their catalyst that allowed them to jump ahead. But in the end, it was able to get a second wind and line up with China and perfectly top with China. So this is good. Really, really good things that I'm seeing here. 12 hours on the Hang Seng, a higher high. The velocity made a higher high. And it already is in this pullback phase. 4 hours. Like, it's all looking good, guys. Like, trying to, like, perfectly time this is one of the hardest things to do. You got to just, like, hang tight. We're going to do some quick price targets on Baba and Baidu and basically wrap this up. So, a lot of people have been throwing out 120, and I can't remember how I drew this, but I think the way this works goes something like this. Yeah, I can see it going into. See, I don't know. Do you draw it here or do you draw it there? Papa is at an interesting spot. It's above it. So regardless, even if I draw it like that, it is above it. Wait a second. Is it above it? It's not above it. It's at a very interesting spot. But for price targets, and I'm a full believer that, and I think they have earnings next week. You can see 130. You can even just do that. Let's just be more realistic there. Okay. End of March. End of March. For Baba. 130. All right. I can even see it give you that dip on earnings and boom, up it goes. That's where I see this going for this cycle. Baidu. Baidu's going to have something very similar. I actually already had it drawn out. Baidu's at least coming up to one. Baidu's got a big way to go. And I think it's going to come into that 140. It has the potential to come to 140, 150. So Baidu has a chance. Target maintained with 130, a share by benchmark. Okay. Look at that, 146. And these were channels that were made from, like, since the history of, like, Baidu. Did it bounce off that middle of the channel? pretty much, barely. But there you have it, guys. That's pretty much it. I think I went over time with my video, but I think I made it shorter and we covered more data. I hope I kind of kept your attention. If you're still watching all the way till the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys all had a wonderful, wonderful morning. And again, I'm going to share with you just a bit off topic here, but when I'm sitting in a play, which is NIO, and I'm sitting there patiently, just waiting for it to go up, I like to do things to pass time rather than stare at the chart. Now, I did load up the chart this morning to try and drop my analysis and share where I see things going. But one of my favorite things to do is turn on Netflix or even Amazon Prime or Apple TV and find myself a good TV series to just watch some TV. Like, unplug and de-stress. Don't let the stock stress you out. It could totally make you go crazy. I know it makes me go crazy sometimes, but sit back, relax, watch some good TV. I'll give you guys a couple of different recommendations. Recently, I started watching a series called Severance. It's an Apple TV series. And I finished it. I binge watched it. It's totally incredible. I highly recommend it. Never seen anything like it. The premise behind it is people go to work and they get a computer chip installed in their brain. And when they go to work, they lose their memories of their real life. And when they leave work, they lose their memories of what happened at work. And it's a really cool premise. I've never seen anything like that. So highly recommend that. And that's it. That's all. If you enjoyed my video, don't forget to smash a thumbs up. Give me the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button and drop a comment section below. Let me know what you're watching or what you're doing to pass time. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Once again, have a wonderful weekend. Cheers.